Hi, morning. Sekejap ya. Ah. Boleh nampak ke? QR apa attendance QR code. Is it okay? Let me switch on another laptop. Morning, how's everyone today? Okay ke?
Good morning.
Morning, Miss.
Morning. Hujan kat sini. Saya lambat sikit sebab hujan.
Miss dah breakfast belum?
Dah. Dah, sekarang hari Isnin bangun awal. Pukul 5 dah bangun. Tak boleh tidur. Aduh. Nervous kelas pukul 8 pagi kan sebab takut lambat. Siapa lapar nak makan-makan lah. It's okay. Linda masak ke? Linda ada ke tu?
Dah masak dah, Miss.
Dah masak.
Makan je.
Siapa nak makan-makan? Okay, don't worry.
Miss, saya scan kod tak?
Scan tak boleh? Okay. Apa tu, leave your name dekat dalam chat tu. Nanti saya key. Siapa tak boleh scan, just leave your name in the chat box in chat. Nanti lepas kelas nanti saya key in kan your attendance, okay?
This is the first time this year that the Huang family has taken a vacation. And the place they chose to visit is a city where the pandemic started.
当时就说跟现在不太一样，武汉就可以怎么说就又活过来了。
The Huangs were in Wuhan during a public holiday in October called Golden Week. During the same time last year, more than 7 million Chinese travelers went overseas. This year, tourist sites around the world have been empty, and most Chinese travelers are choosing to stay in the country. So many are going to ground zero of the pandemic. During Golden Week, Wuhan had the most visitors of any Chinese city.
它是一个全民的英雄的城市，武汉的人民很了不起，武汉是全世界最安全的地方，确实还是有一些自豪感的这样。
People are also flocking to the city to see a 1,000-year-old tower and walk along China's longest river. Wuhan is overcoming its pandemic past to rise in the ranks of top travel destinations. The first coronavirus case was detected late last year at one of Wuhan's largest meat and seafood markets, and authorities moved swiftly to lock the city down. After 76 days, the lockdown was lifted, and many people emerged from their homes for the first time. But a fresh outbreak of cases about a month later forced authorities to roll out a mass testing plan for the city's 11 million people. They achieved it in about 10 days. Since then, the city hasn't reported any locally transmitted cases.
武汉人民是健康的，来武汉旅游安全无忧。
A safe city is a critical part of the Wuhan government's plan to help boost tourism. Authorities have put in place specific health requirements to ensure the city remains COVID-free, like at Wuhan's main amusement park. All staff at Happy Valley are required to test for coronavirus. And the park has had to limit capacity to 75%.
把口罩戴一下，口罩戴好。
Tianying Zhao has been working at Happy Valley for 9 years. And when the park reopened after the city's nearly 3-month lockdown, she was assigned to a new role.
为了保证就是每一趟游客乘坐的一个舒适以及安全，所以我们每趟就会对车体进行一个消杀，不断的提醒游客佩戴好口罩，保持安全间距。
谢谢你啊。
Before entering the park, visitors also have to register online and submit their national ID numbers in order to facilitate contact tracing in case of an outbreak. It also helps that everyone in China is part of a health code system that tracks coronavirus infection and travel histories.
武汉有全民进行封闭，加上全民进行核酸，所以也算是在某种程度上让我觉得很放心。
A safe city means that people like Huang will travel more than 200 miles to visit and spend money here.
多少钱？10块钱。
Huang and his family spent about $300 during their 2-day stay in Wuhan.
有的来武汉旅游，比如说呢，您要去吃饭呀，您要入住一些酒店啊，然后要打车啊这些，我觉得在某种层面上也是对武汉的一种帮助吧，我觉得。
Wuhan is central China's main transit hub, and during the early days of the pandemic, its airport and railways helped spread the virus. But now, those same transportation links are bringing in visitors. During Golden Week, Wuhan received more than 18 million tourists. But spending still hasn't come back to normal levels. The long holiday generated about $1.4 billion of tourism revenue for the city. That's down.
Okay, so do you expect Wuhan will pick up economy condition after what 8 months? And sebab tu kenapa saya share video tu? What do you think? Hari ni kita discuss soal economical aspects, right? So I just shared a video with how tourism in Wuhan picking up, and so what do you think? Do you surprise ke, or you expect tourism will be better next year around what March probably? What do you think? Apa yang you expect untuk next year? You nak pergi praktikal kan tahun depan kan? Do you think kita punya tourism akan picking up macam Wuhan? Kalau malu type je dalam chat box. I can read your.
Bergantung pada situasi.
Bergantung pada situasi. Alright, what kind of situation you think that important now?
Tadi Miss, ekonomi tourism Wuhan meningkat
Oh.
So,
Oh.
saya rasa bagi saya, kalau China pun mampu untuk meningkatkan ekonomi dia selepas dilanda wabak macam itu, negara lain pun boleh jugalah. Bukan setakat Wuhan saja.
Why do you think this can be better for us? Kenapa you rasa kalau Wuhan boleh buat, kita boleh buat? Kenapa? Apa yang you dengar dalam video tu? Apa perkataan yang dia cakap? Dia mention tau semua benda tu. Benda yang what will happen in the future trend. Kenapa saya share video tu dulu? Because this is what happen in future trends. Kan? So apa yang sebenarnya future trends tu sebenarnya dah berlaku dah. And Wuhan is sekarang ni akan jadi main example untuk tourism opening up. So student tourism kena ambil case study Wuhan, kaji, analyze, breakdown, because this is you yang akan drive tourism industry. So apa yang you rasa key element tadi yang diorang mention kat dalam tu? Kalau ikutkan you as personal lah, travel, you takut tak nak pergi Wuhan? Or you feel safer to travel to Wuhan? Anyone nak share? Jangan risau. Tak ada betul, tak ada salah. Bukan tak ada betul, tak ada salah.
Kalau macam saya sendiri, Miss, saya tak niat untuk pergi kat Wuhan kan, sebab dalam masa singkat macam ni, kita tak yakin juga dengan tahap keselamatan dia orang pun kan.
Okay.
Tapi itu pendapat saya lah.
Alright, okay, takut nak pergi. Alright, Fahmi dengan Fatini said both agree takut nak pergi. And saya pun kalau ikutkan skeptical nak pergi. Tapi bila tengok video tu, sebab kat sini lah jujurnya berapa ramai orang nak travel. Kalau kata Malaysia buka pintu border, you nak keluar ke tak?
Takut buat masa ni.
Tak. Saya gatal ni tunggu je. Bila nak keluar boleh beli tiket fly. Sebab saya dah biasa travel kan. Jadi saya nak keluar. Saya dah 2 tahun tak travel kan. Nak tapi duit tak ada, yes. Okay, kalau ada duit. Aifah kata tak nak, takut. It's a normal reaction. So sekarang ni, kita students, of course kita akan cakap takut. Tapi now, kalau kita letak on the flip side, you sekarang tourism service provider, you nak convince orang pergi. Macam mana sekarang you nak buat? Nak convince orang untuk pergi. Because kita kena generate economy. Or else, industri kita collapse. Saya nak keluar, okay? So, Juliana kata dia nak keluar. Okay, so ada yang nak keluar tapi tak nak pergi China, right? Okay, Asna. Right. And so, apa yang kalau negara yang you nak pergi, kenapa you nak pergi? Tahap keselamatan, okay? So, dalam video tu memang mention tahap keselamatan kan. What's the key point probably I think from the video is that because Wuhan, bila city dia collapse in 30 days, because what happened in Wuhan is less than 1 month, the city closed down kan. Apa yang dia buat, dia swab test semua orang dalam Wuhan. Semua. Every single person. Malaysia tak buat every single person bila kita contact rapat or kita ada gejala, then only will be tested, right? But that is what Wuhan did. Okay. So, bila dia test, meaning every single person dia test untuk dia masukkan dalam database. You tengok kan? Database tu. So, database tu yang digunakan bila kita travel untuk track down. Sama lah macam sekarang lah. Sebab orang everyday kan tanya kan. Sebab bila you dalam tourism memang orang akan tanya dekat you, kenapa everyday cases will be increasing in COVID-19. Okay? Number of cases increasing. Okay. So, saya punya background sciences. So, I can answer quite easy lah. Tapi, in general, because of what happened is that bila ada MySejahtera, sebab tu dia kata, kita patut bersyukur bila mana COVID-19 happen during smartphone technology time compare to masa Spanish flu dulu. Okay? Because bila ada telefon, it's possible for you, tracing will be easier. Kan? Tracing tu penting. So, number of cases yang tinggi tu sebenarnya berdasarkan tracing. Compare tu masa first wave, kita baru set up MySejahtera. So, kita susah nak cari kontak rapat because orang pun tak nak declare. But now, because of MySejahtera, So you tahu siapa yang duduk satu rumah dengan you. For example, you pergi office, you jumpa siapa, sebab sekarang nak masuk fakulti pun saya kena scan nak masuk pintu fakulti. So that if katakanlah anything happen, dia tahu dia nak pergi mana. So tracing is easier sebab tu number of cases lebih tinggi compare to masa first wave. Sebab tracking tu lebih mudah. Bila tracking lebih mudah meaning the time of contact shorter. Kan? Cultivation 5 hari, sebab tu you faham kenapa kita kena stay at home for 14 days kan. Cultivation untuk wabak to grow about 5 to 6 days now. Boleh detect dengan sekarang kan. So sebenarnya number of cases tu tinggi sebab tracing lebih mudah. So for me, betul stay at home. Tapi kita kena positive, which means bila tracing tu mudah meaning lesser people will be infected. Lebih cepat kita trace orang untuk pergi hospital. So that's why kenapa saya share video tadi. Because it's not easy untuk declare a city is clean 100% from COVID-19. Even Wuhan sendiri pun kan, kalau you tengok kan. Tapi you perasan kan, they share a case study dekat theme parks. And if you notice, they reduce the number of admission to the theme parks by 70%. To 70%. Meaning kalau sekarang capacity dia 100 kan, so now dia hanya boleh allow 75,000 people saja compared to 100,000. So they actually control. So that's what will be happening in the tourism industry. Tourism industry will be opening up, especially the bigger ones, right? However, the number of visitors will be decreasing. So ingat lagi demand and supply rule. Bila supply kurang, demand tinggi, what will happen? Sebelum kita start tajuk kita. What will happen? Demand banyak.
Lebih banyak
So demand banyak, supply kurang. So now what will happen?
Harga kena ingkat, inflasi.
Exactly. Memang ekonomi kurang. Harga akan meningkat. So this is the future of travel. Right? So apa yang kita discuss hari ni on economical aspects. So the tourism that you know now will be different. No longer tourism yang you tahu dulu. So move on. Sebab tu kalau orang cakap kenapa saya very optimis, bukan kata kita nak move on macam tu je. When you need to move on, bila kita nak buat anything, we need to be knowledgeable untuk you buat decision. Especially you lah, graduates. You nak pergi bekerja kan. So when you want to enter the industry, knowledge is very important. So now you need to equip yourself, read more, predict future trends more, so that you boleh answer in uncertainty. This is apa yang I think majority of undergraduates and fresh graduates lacking. Predicting uncertainty ataupun responding to uncertainties. Student tourism sepatutnya better at responding uncertainty because you all ada banyak program uncertainty. Contohnya event management. Selalunya buat event management takkan perfect, betul tak? You plan lah macam mana pun, you perfectionist pun, you punya event mesti akan ada something wrong on the day. Am I right?
Betul.
Betul? So I think student tourism good at responding at uncertainty. So you need to have that mindset untuk masuk industri. Memang kena ada mindset tu, uncertainty. Because benda takkan perfect dekat tempat kerja. And also when you want to enter the industry, memang takkan perfect, right? So you need to have that mindset, pegang mindset tu, and what you have learned, okay, and bawa that UMK spirit, which is go-getter. Student UMK disukai di industri kerana student UMK, kalau Chinese panggil gung ho kan, which is go-getter. Budak UMK kalau dia nak buat, dia set mind dia memang akan buat. You should bawa spirit tu. Sebab tu bila orang gelak pasal student UMK, saya kata tak, student UMK punya entrepreneurial spirit sangat tinggi. This is masa saya kat UiTM dulu pun tak ada benda ni. Saya kata kan. So, saya lain. Saya bukan macam student UiTM, typical student UiTM. Sebab saya banyak kerja kan kat luar. Okay. But this is how you should respond to in the industry. You should bring that entrepreneurial mindset to enter the industry. Okay. So, we go into topic. And so, saya tak payah briefing pasal mega industry, whatever the structure of tourism. Okay, because tourism changes. Slide saya guna tahun lepas untuk isu semasa, saya tak boleh guna untuk isu semasa tahun ni. It's two different industry. I would say it's two different industry. Right. So last year discussion, I can talk about tourism is the world largest industry in the world. Kita ada job apa kita panggil? Job opportunity about 9 billions income generated every year. I can talk about that too, isu semasa last year. Sebab tu kenapa saya suka mengajar isu semasa. Isu semasa is about responding. Kita respond to the industry. Okay, bila kita respond, kita kena tahu. Sebab tu bila tahun ni orang kata tak ada orang mengajar isu semasa tourism, saya kata tak apa, saya boleh ajar. Saya banyak membaca, don't worry. Student tourism akan selamat di bawah saya. Yeah. So, because I want to change your mindset. Saya ngajar bukan untuk you lulus exam sahaja, adalah untuk mindset. Sebab pada saya, mindset kena ready. Nak pergi industri, kena ada a good mindset. And student first year kalau mengajar saya takut. Tak apa, don't worry. Time kejap lagi saya buka balik. Okay? Right. So, mega industry is what you learn in Introduction to Hospitality back in 17? You all punya, you masuk? Okay? Back in 2017. Alright. So, but what is similar now, then, and now, what you learn in 2017 and what you learn in 2020 is that it's still a labor-intensive industry. It's still a service industry. So, you kena ingat, kita adalah service industry. What we provide services. Kita sell services. Okay, so whatever services that you think you're good at, polish. Right? And bring that, okay, bring that skills, okay, bring that, whatever negotiation skills that you have, contohnya communication skills that you have, bring that, okay. And because it's labor intensive, it provides so many working opportunities. Of course, bila kita dengar sekarang, saya rasa fresh graduate orang takut dengar because bukan kata fresh graduate. Saya maksudnya the faculty tengah buat program 3U1I untuk student yang akan pergi industri 1 year kan. So, I would say half of the faculty sekarang rasa takut nak buat program 3U1I sebab kita risau industry is not responding to us. Okay? Kita pun risau. Sebab saya pun risau sebenarnya bila mana korang, you all nak keluar pergi practical. Saya pun. Saya kata macam mana student kita nak pergi practical ni? Ada tak tempat nak student kita? Because most of the businesses closing up. So, bila business close up, meaning now you yang kena kreatif. Not only look into traditional punya travel agent, you kena look into different kinds of agency. Okay, so go for real estates contohnya, which is ada tourism elements. And ada, kalau student wellness, saya advise hari tu because I taught club management last sem kan. So, sekata property ada banyak facilities untuk wellness facilities. So, jangan fikir gym saja. You need to diversify. So, dekat situ students can go up. So, tourism ada banyak entrepreneur companies yang probably you tak perasan, small businesses. So, itu yang you should go. Transportation contohnya, itu part of tourism industry. Okay, so go into that kind of service industry also. Jangan fikir travel agent je. You fikir travel agent je, memang you stuck. Okay, kena fikir. Dalam industri you ada apa lagi. Okay, so this is the reality lah. Saya bukan nak bagi student takut, but this is the reality that we need to understand. So now, from 700,000 jobs, about 100 to 120 million jobs are at risk. Okay, so that's quite a lot lah. Okay, so bila industri macam ni, meaning they are very selective in terms of picking their staff, but apa yang saya dengan Dr. Kas agree is that businesses akan build up lebih banyak, will be opening up more businesses compare to traditional punya travel agents for example. Okay, this is apa yang saya, sebab saya Dr. Gas mengajar isu semasa hospitality kan dengan your junior punya batch. So kata this is what we agree. We said that betul business akan slow down tapi memang akan ada banyak new opportunity yang orang lain tak nampak sebelum ni. Your generation will be better because why? Your digital skill is better than the generation before you. You kena ingat digital skill adalah salah satu skill yang our generation, your generation is good at. Dan orang sebelum ni kalau nak suruh belajar komputer, orang umur 50 macam Dr. Gas, saya kesian dengan Dr. Gas kena mengajar online learning macam ni. Saya sekarang orang panggil saya YouTuber. Just because saya upload video kelas saya on YouTube. Kan? Padahal saya bukannya share public account kan. Saya share untuk student saya so that they won't use too much data of your data. That's the reason why I use YouTube for you. So sekarang orang dalam fakulti panggil saya YouTuber. Saya kata saya bukan YouTuber pun. YouTuber create content kan. Saya hanya create content untuk lecture sahaja. Tapi bila orang cakap macam tu saya kata yelah betul lah. In general, if compare saya punya digital skills, compare dengan pensyarah lain punya digital skills, saya better level. That's why saya boleh buat sendiri video. Sebelum saya start kelas saya ada, saya tak tahulah you boleh nampak ke tak kan. Saya ada skrip. YouTuber pun ada skrip kan sebelum dia buat video. Saya ada skrip saya sendiri. Tak tahulah you boleh nampak ke tak kan. Should I share? Saya memang ada, saya prepare. Saya very well prepared bila datang kelas kan. Sebab saya dah terbiasa kan, that habit kan. Okay. So, this is kita revise sebab because today is about economical aspect. So, what we'll discuss, of course, we will discuss about multiplier effect, which I think multiplier effect, whether the tourism in Malaysia or outside Malaysia, multiplier effect will still be there. Okay, in terms of economy. Economy punya rule sama je. Okay, so tourism multiplier is the same if we have development. Okay, so later kita akan come out macam mana duit datang untuk development. Bila kita ada development, what will happen? We have more jobs, we have more businesses. Okay, so we can create direct and indirect jobs. Okay, so that people will spend more money in that destination. Kan, whether your destination is on the land kan, ataupun dekat island for example, you will still create the same effect. Okay, so ni soalan last year punya soalan isu semasa hospitality. Sebab pada saya student tak payah study pun sebenarnya, tapi kan 70% student tak boleh jawab soalan multiplier effect. Saya tak tahu kenapa. Pada saya this is a very economic concept, very basic punya economic concept yang student should understand. Kena tahu demand and supply because kita seller, when we want to sell services, kita kena faham demand and supply rule. That's kenapa you belajar prinsip ekonomi. Walaupun you belajar 14 minggu, you guna probably 1 minggu punya kuliah je. And so bilik saya sekarang tepi pensyarah ekonomi. So hari-hari Rabu saya akan dengar kuliah ekonomi sekarang semester ni kan. So setiap hari Rabu sebab kelas Dr. Fahmi hari Rabu. Saya akan dengar kuliah dia ulang balik dengan cerita pasal demand and supply dekat junior you kan. Student semester pertama kan. Saya dengar kan. But it's still the same. We are talking about supply and demand rule. We need to know that. Okay. So at popular destination we need investment. So investment comes from tourists. So tourists, it can be local tourists, it can be international tourists. Okay. So what we're afraid about the current tourism situation and also the previous tourism situation is that leakages. And so leakages means the money that generated in the community, in the local economy, are getting out for various reasons. Okay. I think one of the main reason now because of Shopee, contohnya Shopee ya. Saya bagi contoh paling mudah Shopee. Walaupun Shopee is not tourism product, but then bila kita pilih seller daripada siapa kita nak beli, how do you choose seller daripada Shopee? Kita bagi konsep leakages yang paling senang ni for you to understand. You pilih, macam mana you pilih Shopee punya seller?
Preferred.
Okay, trust. Apa, sorry, apa dia?
Feedback dia.
Preferred.
Okay, review, rating, review. Okay, so you pilih local seller ke? You pilih overseas seller? Free shipping.
Local.
Dua-dua.
Local, dua-dua.
Overseas lambat.
Okay. Mana-mana saja janji sampai barang. Okay, both local, ramai yang pilih local, ada yang pilih both. Depend on barang nak beli. Okay. So, why Shopee become attractive? Because the cost kan. Cost barang daripada you tengok dekat shelf on for example Tesco, you can get price on Shopee probably quarter than that. Kalau selama ni you beli benda tu RM1, sekarang you boleh beli kat Shopee probably 20 sen. Tapi untuk entitle shipping free, kena beli benda RM15. Daripada benda nak beli 20 sen, tiba-tiba you kena top up beli benda sampai RM5, betul tak? Shopee punya demand and supply memang terbaik. Model dia. Saya takut nak masuk Shopee walaupun nak claim points sekarang. Takut. Sebab saya takut terspend duit. Kan. So, what will happen is that bila dia boleh offer barang murah, meaning dia dapat supplier murah, which is most likely bukan daripada Malaysia. Betul tak? Maybe barang-barang tu sebenarnya daripada China juga bring in to Malaysia. So that's what happened. Duit daripada Malaysia that we generate in Malaysia, okay? Kita kerja kat Malaysia kan? Kita generate duit in Malaysia. Kita pergi China, beli barang, lampu, apa tu yang panggil backlight Aku tak pakai backlight. Aku pakai ni study lamp je. Nak bagi orang cerah muka kat pencerah, ramai beli backlight tu. Nak bagi tak nampak gelap. Sebab kadang-kadang student nak tengok juga muka pencerahan bila kuliah kan. So backlight tu beli daripada China kan. That's the cheapest price kan. Okay. So bila kita beli, kita spend duit dekat China dengan ekonomi, dengan ringgit Malaysia, meaning duit daripada Malaysia akan ke sana. That's what happened to leakages. So dulu leakages berlaku because of kita spend duit macam tu. Kita tak perasan. So now bila ada Shopee, what will happen? Leakages tu lagi cepat berlaku, proses leakages. Dulu kita kena pergi sendiri China. Sekarang tak payah because apa? Kita bayar dekat seller di China and they ship the item to us. So leakages berlaku once kita klik the buy from overseas. Contohnya. Sebab tu you tahu kenapa? Because of that, Shopee bagi incentive if you buy local from local sellers kan? Betul tak? Because they want to generate duit dalam Malaysia. Tu. Walaupun kita tahu pun sebenarnya barang yang jual dekat local seller tu pun sebenarnya barang daripada China juga. Tapi this is the basic concept of leakages lah. The easiest one. So duit daripada tax contohnya, duit daripada tax so you dapat lah penjana apa yang you all dapat. Siapa tak tahu dapat ke tak penjana BPN lah. Dia panggil kan sekarang kan BPN. So that's the money that go up. Okay. So ada setengah probably duit that went out because of imports. Okay, we buy imports because tak ada options. Or we have options but imports creates better cost. For example, agriculture punya item. Walaupun Cameron Highland boleh generate vegetable yang cukup untuk penggunaan Malaysia. Contohnya. But then because of co-base daripada Indonesia lebih murah ataupun co-base daripada China lebih murah, we buy co-base from China or from Indonesia. So, imports. Kita rely on that. Okay. So, this is leakages. So, apa yang kenapa sekarang tourism, what Malaysia government are doing in terms of tourism activities, they want us to go local, meaning buy local products, go to your local shops, and then visit local destination because they want to minimize leakages. Itu apa yang dia nak buat sekarang ni. Okay. So, that's what happened. Okay. So, how we get all those money yang bayar BPN kita, yang buat LRT, yang buat jalan raya, this is from tax. Okay. So, I know that students belum bayar lagi tax, but once you work, you will, saya pun, ni tahun ke-10 saya kerja, this is my first time will be paying tax. And saya selalu dapat tax exemption kan, sebab saya spend duit untuk government balik kan. So, bila kita spend balik duit untuk government, tax will be lesser because you spend. Sebab tu orang pelik, orang selalu kata macam banyak ke saya kena tax, saya gelak je, saya tak pernah kena tax. So this is my first year saya akan kena tax lepas tahun ke-10 saya kerja. So sama macam student, so don't worry about tax sebab saya tahu usually unless you buat business you generate more than apa yang you can pay, then masa tu baru you akan kena tax. So jangan risau pasal tax about next year. But this is how kita collect tax. So dalam in terms of tourism tax, saya tak tahu ada ke tak khusus pasal tourism tax, tapi I just introduce to you tax, satu je lah tax yang kita ada. So kita ada tourist tax. Malaysia ada tourist tax. Okay, so tourism tax, kita siapa yang turis yang duduk di hotel-hotel di Malaysia will need to pay certain amount on top of the hotel fees. So Malaysian tak kena bayar, hanya turis sahaja. Okay, so kalau ikutkan very cheap because RM10 je pun. Dia duduk satu malam bilik hotel, katakanlah contohnya bilik hotel dekat Bukit Bintang satu malam lebih kurang $100. So dalam RM400 duit Malaysia. So dia hanya bayar RM10 je tax. So pada American contohnya is about like $2 apa yang they need to pay in Malaysia for tourist tax. Okay, so Malaysia already start implemented in 2017 ke 2018 this tourism tax, right? So because the government, what happened is that so kalau you tengok kat sini yang saya share kan, bila kita start collect, okay, so recently the government announced they want to exempt tourism tax next year untuk boost tourism economy. Padahal kita collect RM10 je ni daripada turis. So dia nak bagi exemption of that RM10. So tourism industry players now ada yang sokong, ada yang tak. Okay, so kalau you sokong ke tak nak bagi exemption RM10 je pun satu malam. Kalau you support or not? Bukan you bayar, turis bayar. You support? Okay. So jangan kata di support, right? Jadi? Tak sure. Ataupun you tak tahu pun tax ni untuk apa. No? Okay, Rachel kata no. Right. This is what happened bila government announce. So kebanyakannya tourism players disagree. Okay, dia disagree bukan apa. Kita dah tutup business 1 year, and then when you want to open business next year, government said tak perlu tax. Business dah nak tutup dah ni, you kata tak boleh pula tax kan, which is duit tax tu boleh balik kepada your company. So now tourism players marah because only RM10. Kalau Mak Saleh $2 je duit tu, macam RM2 kita lah, $2. So $2 je pun, apa yang susahnya kan untuk bayar kan. So this is problem sekarang ni, because betul kita nak tarik turis datang, but the problem is that a lot of business will be closing ataupun kita panggil at the verge of closing. So we should generate more money. So when we should generate more money, tourism tax should not be exempted, because it become side income in tourism, and it become income. Tax is an income, so itu yang berlaku kan. So bila dengan duit yang generated from tourism, from tax, from tadi contohnya video pasal Wuhan punya video, what will happen is that cost of domestic travel will be decreasing, meaning Malaysian akan spend more nearer to our house. That's how kita akan berlaku bila SOP travel berlaku. Because SOP travel meaning bila kita nak pergi mana-mana destination, we need to have more measures when we want to travel. Okay? So macam saya share first week, probably kita akan ada health passport contohnya, maybe. Government belum buat, but maybe. So we need more money ataupun sebelum you pergi travel, you kena health check dulu whether you sihat or not. So you have to pay by your own to take that medical exam. Kan? Macam masuk universiti dulu kan, kena ambil medical exam kan, kena bayar sendiri, betul tak? Kan? Walaupun you pergi klinik kesihatan pun mesti kena bayar. So because of leceh and all this SOP, so people will start travelling to local places, meaning the cost for domestic travel will be decreasing. However, the cost for international will be increasing. Okay, so international travel, kalau sekarang you boleh naik pergi travel, banyak blog suka share macam 500, macam mana nak travel dengan RM500 10 hari di sekian-sekian negara, right? Selalu kan, dulu kan. So now, dah tak boleh macam tu. Kan? Because now international travel will be more expensive. Okay? So this is what happened. But then, because bila cost domestic travel decreasing, meaning international travelers will be coming in. Tu apa yang akan berlaku. Lebih orang akan datang. Sebab duit kita ada dengan dia. Kalau orang British British punya pound darab 5 daripada duit kita. So 1 pound sama dengan RM5 duit Malaysia. And so pada dia, kalau dia spend RM1 kat sini, macam dia spend berapa? 2 kupang lah. 20 sen je. 20 cents. And so dia money. Okay, so that's what happened, meaning international travel ke negara-negara Southeast Asia will be cheaper. Okay, so this is apa yang kita expect lah will happen. Saya rasa saya dah share pun first week kan, but we expect will be picking up dengan kita punya situation, hospital kita better, probably kita, Malaysia will be one of the earliest country will be opening up kan. Although dengan what we try to do, we try to contain the spread. Probably kita akan help back dulu untuk international tourism and also allow people to come in. And so apa yang you akan buat? I think next year you will be focusing more catering into local tourists. And so macam mana you nak cater into local tourists? Punya travel trends, itu yang you akan create. I think masa you pergi praktikal, ini banyak yang you akan buat. International travel, probably outbound not so, you akan banyak handle inbound. Okay? So case study 1, right? And Tokyo 2020. And so ada yang plan nak pergi tengok Olympic ke sepatutnya tahun ni kan. Ada yang plan nak pergi Tokyo 2020 kan. So Tokyo 2020 adalah Tokyo adalah negara yang hit by coronavirus very bad lah. Walaupun dia one of the strongest economy kita panggil generator in Asia kan. Sebab yen mahal mata wang yen is expensive. Okay? So even though expensive, what happened is that dia being hit hard by coronavirus. Okay, so case study 1 is about sports tourism. Okay, so last week kita cover pasal ecotourism, whatnot kan. So hari ni because of economy, I think the most tourism sector that impacted by economy ataupun related greatly with economic impact is sports tourism. Sports tourism, why? Every 4 years, orang akan berebut juga nak host Olympics. Not only Olympics, it can be FIFA, and it can be Sukan C, and kalau kat Malaysia Sukma contohnya kan. Semua orang berebut nak jadi tuan rumah. Every 4 years, any cycle lah. Any cycle, because cycle kan tak sama kan, cycle Olympic, cycle FIFA apa semua kan tak sama. But people will keep countries will keep bidding to become the host. And because what happened with sports tourism is that it brings mass tourism. Bila you jadi host, orang akan datang flocking in to the country. So macam Malaysia host Commonwealth 1998. Okay? Bukit Jalil kan. They revamp the whole area and it become center for Commonwealth to host Commonwealth 1998. Okay? So banyak negara walaupun dia ada pro and cons in terms of sports tourism, they will still hosting. And if you Google, you akan jumpa kan after the class you will do research kan untuk cari case study you sendiri right untuk buat video reaction kan. You akan jumpa banyak video reaction, not really video reaction but news coverage about sports tourism in terms of economy impact. Okay? So this is what happens. And so bila dia nak host sebelum berlaku coronavirus, dia bidding to become the host back in 2016 to 2017, rasa tak silap. Right. So when they start bidding to become the host, 4 years ago, no sorry, 2013 lah kan, 2013. Because bila announce dia jadi 2016, right. So in 2013 dia bidding to become the host. So in 2019 dia start ada tax. Okay? Dulu kalau you pergi Jepun tak ada tax bila you nak keluar daripada negara. Kan? Saya kata kan, Jepun punya tourism policy antara tourism policy banyak yang saya tahu because this is one of the country yang selalu saya pergi travel kan, Japan. So in 2019 dia start charge 1,000 yen. 1,000 yen lebih kurang duit kita RM40. Okay, lebih kurang RM40 Malaysia ringgit. Right? They start to charge every departure. So you imagine kan, satu flight contohnya you have about what? Katakan 1,000 passengers, so you times 1,000 passengers times 1,000 yen. So tu duit yang dia collect untuk setiap orang yang keluar daripada negara dia. Tapi dia bagi tahu kenapa dia collect. Because bila dia nak host sports tourism, dia nak host Olympic, apa yang dia kena buat? Dia kena buat stadium, betul tak? Kan? They need to build new roads. They need to provide hotels. So hotels punya isu dekat Jepun adalah salah satu isu yang paling banyak di-discuss. Yes. They build a lot of facilities. And they need a new swimming pool, Olympic size. They need new new field. And hotels punya isu pasal Jepun Olympic memang banyak because negara kecil, they don't have enough space. Macam kita dekat Malaysia, masa kita nak buat Commonwealth, kita clearkan kawasan Bukit Jalil, kita buat kondo for athletes, sports villages. But dekat Jepun tak boleh nak buat macam tu. So they start searching for alternative. So dia terpaksa go daripada traditional hotel, dia kena educate orang dia untuk Airbnb. Or else they won't have enough accommodation when they want to host Olympic 2020. Okay, so they start. So they negara Jepun the only country in the world yang ada rule kerajaan set untuk Airbnb. Kalau negara lain ada. And because Airbnb kan dia freelance sebenarnya kan. Dia up to kita. Kita kita yang generate income untuk rumah kita sendiri kan. Kita sewakan bilik kita atau kita sewakan rumah kita kan. Airbnb punya konsep. So sepatutnya duit tu balik ke kita. Tapi Japan regulate. Kalau you collect duit daripada turis, you need to pay tax but it's back to the government. So you buat rule macam tu. So dia the only country yang regulate Airbnb. Negara lain tak buat the only country. So dia cakap kenapa dia collect duit because they need to build infrastructure. Okay. So this is what they start collecting lah. Okay. So in general, saya tak jumpa data pasal Olympic, but this is data pasal Russia masa Russia host World Cup 2018. So why the reason countries wants to host sports event? Okay, kalau kita tengok dekat sini based on the data from Russia 2018, and so it will increase about kalau kita tengok numbers kita just tengok in terms of percentage kita tengok 31% tourist arrival will be increasing. Okay, restoration of current facility will be increasing by 25%. Okay. The transport sector, which is tourism sector, will increase by 10%. Kalau you tengok. Okay, so banyak so increasing. So and also number of tourists keep datang because sports what happened, not only the athletes will come, what they want is that loyal team supporter coming. Itu apa yang dia expect. Dia nak loyal supporter datang. Okay. So contohnya macam bola lah paling senang kan. So bila ada sports event, memang akan satu team dengan the whole sorak kan, fan, football fan akan turun kan, naik satu flight. Macam masa hari tu Vietnam ke lawan dengan Malaysia ke, AirAsia tambah 2 flight extra. Kalau selama ni AirAsia hanya ada 1 flight per hour, but because of that game, Malaysia AirAsia provide 3 flights per day to Vietnam untuk cater that sports event sahaja, that football match. Okay, that's how impact economic impact of sports tourism. Okay, so but then we also needs to discuss the negative impact. Okay, so this is masa Rio jadi host 2016. Apa yang berlaku, because they need to build new facilities, right? So they need more land. So the main center, Rio de Janeiro kan capital city of Brazil kan. So walaupun di capital city, Rio de Janeiro punya ekonomi dia dikelilingi oleh slum. Okay, Stengan. Dia dikelilingi oleh Stengan. Okay, so they have a lot of Stengan. Dia panggil ni favela tu lah. Favela kan. Home of favela kalau you baca dekat dalam artikel kan. Favela. Favela tu nama Portugis untuk Stengan. Dia bukan cakap bahasa Spanish, dia cakap bahasa Portugis kan. Brazil. Okay. So dia panggil favela. So dia paksa orang keluar. So dia runtuhkan rumah-rumah yang berdekatan dengan kawasan main stadium untuk dia buat Rio punya stadium, dan dihalau orang keluar, orang-orang di favela tu keluar daripada Stengan. And this issue not only discuss isu Rio, sebelum ni juga discuss masa World Cup, South Africa punya World Cup pun discuss isu yang sama. Slum dekat kawasan stadium kena keluar. So of course lah diorang ni marah kan. Diorang ni kan yalah low economy people will be kita panggil evicted, meaning dihalau keluar daripada rumah. Dia nak duduk mana? So yang ni nanti kita discuss next week on social economy, social impact. But this is the problem dengan ekonomi. So apa yang berlaku bila sports event berlaku, turis datang bawa dollars, a lot of dollars, but the local community actually do not receive the same compensation. So berlaku inequality in terms of economic inequality. Okay, so tourists bawa dollars to spend to the destination, but the local community don't receive direct benefits. Okay, so it's widen the gap of economy. So orang yang kaya tetap kaya, which is means bigger corporation, contohnya hotel-hotel besar 5 star, 4 star, contohnya will receive a lot of money spent from the tourists, go directly to the headquarters, katakan Sheraton Hotel, contohnya kan. But the local community don't receive these benefits. So widen the economy inequality to the problem lah dengan sports tourism bringing in. Okay, so this is memang isu yang sentiasa discuss dalam sports tourism. Dia ada 2 benefits, economic benefits dia. Positive one, they bring a lot of tourists, a lot of new money. Okay, so they supposedly when you bring new money, you should bring wealth, kekayaan to the community. That should what happen. Okay, so but then bila kita berlaku leakages, contohnya kan, bila kita tahu kita nak buat souvenirs kan, selalunya kan bila sports event kan kita ada souvenirs kan, macam-macam souvenirs you ada t-shirt, you ada keychain lah, bear, mascot. Kan? So bila you ada saya tak tahu lah awak nampak ke tak tangan saya kalau kuliah macam ni kan. so so apa tu kalau t-shirt tu you print luar daripada Malaysia, contohnya lah luar daripada Malaysia, so itu yang leakages berlaku because you print t-shirt luar daripada Malaysia tapi you bawa jual dekat turis kat sini. And so that is why banyak negara macam US sebab US punya agriculture, walaupun kita tak suka Donald Trump ke whatever ke, kita ada political differences dengan Donald Trump whatever, and sebab saya pun tak agree dengan dia tapi whatever, pada saya biarlah dia bukan Perdana Menteri aku kan. Saya fikir macam tu. Okay. Although kita tahu kita ada apa tu political relationship dengan negara Amerika. But siapa yang saya suka pasal Amerika punya supply chain Amerika, apa yang dia buat masa dia nak host Rio ni kan, dia nak buat baju kan untuk atlet kan. Sorry, bukan Rio. Dia punya winter sports. Kan, selalunya bila Olimpik dia akan ada dua, satu Summer Olympics, satu Winter Olympics. Okay, so masa dia nak buat Winter Olympics, baju musim sejuk tebal, macam sweater yang korang suka pakai tu kan, dia tebal kan. So they need a lot of wool. Bulu daripada kambing biri-biri kan. Negara Malaysia tak ada, apa. Di negara lain, we are talking about negara lain. So US, apa yang dia buat, sebab dulu dia ekspor daripada negara lain, bawa ke US untuk kait sweater yang tim US pakai masa Winter Olympics. So masa Winter Olympics tahun 2016, apa yang dia buat, dia pergi source out semua wool producer in US sendiri. Satu, untuk nationalism, dia cakap. Okay, satu untuk nationalism. Keduanya, sebenarnya dia nak boost local economy. Sebab kalau dia sendiri, negara dia tak cari bahan wool tu daripada entrepreneurs negara dia, macam mana orang lain nak cari? So dia fikir macam tu. So that's what apa yang dia buat. Masa tu dia punya yang buat baju dia apa tu? Was it YSL ke? Buat baju untuk winter team Olympics. Okay. So itu yang saya suka pasal US because agriculture supply system dia cukup untuk support ekonomi negara dia sendiri. Kan? Memang dia pergi source out semua local people dia. So that local entrepreneurs, wool entrepreneurs tu, sebab dia boleh bela beli sebab cuaca dia sejuk kan. Dia boleh bela. So dia pergi cari. Kalau tak ada, dia bagi tahu macam mana nak cultivate quality yang dia nak untuk standard brand dia, YSL punya brand. So dia bagi tahu dia nak macam mana. Okay? Dia bagi tahu dia nak macam mana, so dia orang akan cari breed ni. Dia punya entrepreneur dia cari breed. So this is the mentality of US. Sebab tu kalau you tengok, kalau pergi Olimpik, you jangan terkejut kalau tengok baju paling cantik selalunya tim China, for example, because dia punya nationalism dia tinggi. So nationalism sebenarnya social impact kan, tapi tak apa, kita discuss sikit hari ni kan. So because of nationalism dia tinggi, dia source out daripada negara dia punya supply. So apa yang dia buat? So it's not easy nampak macam sehelai baju, but then that's how the thoughts they put into maintaining the economy so that the leakages will be less. The leakages towards other economy will be less. Okay? So this is what happened dekat Japan sekarang. So they have around deficit 6 billion because of development. Dia dah buat dah infrastructure dia. Dia punya hotel dah siap, jalan raya, transportation. Sebab bila kita nak buat sports event, kita bukan baru sewa bas hari ni. Kita sewa bas probably 2-3 tahun lepas. Itu apa yang berlaku. So then all these bus operators contohnya, dia dah ada loan dah. Dia bukan ambil loan dengan bank, tapi dia ada dia punya macam business loan dia. So dia ambil loan. So they already pay the interest out of their loan 2 to 3 years ago, just untuk guna this year 2020. So they was hoping Tokyo was hoping is that bila tourist datang come in this year, so duit tu akan dibayar. But then delay kan. Olympic bukan cancel, Olympic delay. So next year 2021 tapi dia still akan panggil Tokyo 2020. Because itu brand dia kan, Tokyo 2020. So they will do next year summer. Tu plan je lah kalau dengan economy condition okay. Dengan coronavirus condition okay. Okay. So this is hutang apa yang sekarang kerajaan Japan tengah tanggung. Sebab tu bila orang tanya kenapa Malaysia tak host sukan after Commonwealth, because of this reason. You akan tanggung hutang lama, hutang sukan ni. And because you spend a lot of money building infrastructure, you memang perlukan. And sepatutnya this year Malaysia host, was it G20? Tak silap saya. Tapi ada salah satu Asia Pacific punya summit, Malaysia patut host this year, cancel. And so itu yang sebenarnya antara income yang tertinggi untuk Malaysia tahun ni. And hosting Asian Pacific Summit ni kan. So this year cancel. And so memang tourism industry masa memula lockdown tu masa PKP dia banyaklah discuss pasal summit tu kan. Because how it's impacted mass tourism industry. Sebab dia bawa delegates kan. Summit kan bawa delegates kan. Official. So official kan selalunya security ada apa, hotel semua dah set up. Tu kena cancel. And so this is apa yang didiscuss lah mula-mula. Okay. So ironically lah sebenarnya tourism ni kebanyakannya dekat Malaysia probably tak nampak sangat unless you pergi hotel 5 bintang. And hotel 5 bintang saya pun tak pergi sebenarnya hotel 5 bintang saya. Because dia selalunya dia takkan ambil local people kerja. Tu memang mana-mana negara lah. And sebab I don't know why. And I think because of the cost of the staff. Tapi now bila dah tak boleh hire international staff, memang dia akan patah balik hire local staff. So itu yang you kena ingat. Bila opportunity untuk international ataupun kita panggil immigrant kan. Immigrant workers ditutup, meaning lebih banyak opportunity untuk local. Sebab tu bila orang kata tak ada kerja, saya kata nonsense. Mana ada kerja tak ada? Because immigrant worker dah tak boleh kerja sekarang. Yang kerja dekat sekarang hanya 30% daripada apa yang you tengok sebelum ni. Kalau you perasan. Kan? Sebab itu rule yang dah buat. Kan? Masa berlaku coronavirus, government hantar balik ramai kan. Masa tu immigrants hantar balik, check balik, tengok visa. Kalau visa kerja dia dah expired, semua kena hantar balik. So sebenarnya yang tinggal kat Malaysia tu hanya 30% je apa yang you tengok tu. So sebenarnya banyak peluang ekonomi, peluang pekerjaan for locals. Because of lompong all this kekosongan yang dulu international workers isi, sekarang dah tak ada. Maksudnya kekosongan tu ada for local people. Kalau orang kata tak ada kerja, saya kata nonsense. And kerja banyak. Either you cari dengan tak, tu je. Okay? So this is what happened dalam ekonomi. Apa yang kita patut buat, we need to respond. So pada saya, isu semasa selalunya saya ajar kat students how to respond. And so respond based on several case study. Tadi saya share Olympic 2020, right? One of the response. So this is some of the response yang based on discussion, a lot of discussion with PATA, UN, WTO, okay? So we need to protect the people, we need to protect the visitors and also the tourism workers, okay? Termasuk you lah, tourism graduates, okay? So sekarang apa yang business nak adalah survival. Sebab tu bila debate pasal isu tax memang dia jadi very debatable. Government nak angkat tax, nak exempt tax, however business need tax. Kalau tak ada tax macam mana dia nak hidup? Tu problem dia. Bagi penjana every month sekarang. Saya takut tengok bagi penjana sampai 2 bulan sekali. Banyak gila duit. Bukanlah banyak gila duit. Duit tu kat mana? Meaning government akan start increase tax. Saya tahu bila dia start bagi BPN, tahun ni saja 3 kali dia bagi BPN. Betul tak? Tak silap saya. Lebih kurang 2 ke 3 kali dia bagi BPN untuk individuals. Maksudnya rumah. We're not talking about businesses. We're talking about individuals. Jadi saya tahu maksudnya tax saya tahun ni akan naik. Sebab orang yang akan bayar tax M40 dengan T20 je. Kena ingat orang yang receive tax B40. So saya kata tak apalah, student yang makan duit tu, that's fine. Sebab saya pun kena fikir juga, ada conscience kan. Kita kena fikir. Tapi maksudnya tax akan increase this year. Because BPN 3 kali tahun ni. Nonsense. Kalau ikutkan nonsense, macam mana you boleh buat BPN sampai 3 kali? Okay. And then travel agents, transportation company semua duduk dekat dalam business, semua duduk dalam bawah SMEs. So ni tempat yang you akan pergi masa practical. So nanti you akan tengoklah lebih banyak response on SMEs Okay. And then sekarang banyak private dialogue lah. So saya pun sampai dah stop tengok sebab terlalu banyak. Kadang-kadang saya tengok yang recorded version dia sebab almost every day pakar kena ada macam dialogue. Because dia dialog bukan apa. Because dialog ni penting. Because kita perlu policy now. We need a new policy. Sebab polisi lama kita banyak dah tak boleh guna pakai. Dengan situation sekarang, we need a new policy. We need a new tourism policy to respond how to travel during COVID, how to travel after COVID, and how to make sure the business is sustainable. And so, policy response akan ada banyak discussion. And sepanjang tahun ni until 2024 maybe. So they expect about 2024. Okay. So first, how we are responding to protecting people and also protecting tourism workers. So saya bagi example Singapore. Okay. So Singapore sama je macam Asia sebenarnya. So they retrench about 30% staff Singapore Airlines. Okay, so dia buang. So ada tempat macam dekat Europe, what they did, they relocate staff daripada stadium. Kan stadium tutup kan? Stadium apa semua ni. Walau dia relocate untuk jadi frontliner dekat retail shops. Because kita service industry. Similarity kita dengan retails adalah services. So dia relocate staff daripada tourism attraction. Okay, so dia relocate in Europe dia relocate to retail shop. Okay, so dia buatlah apa-apa jadi cashier ke, for example. Inventory ke. So apa Singapore buat, this is one of initiative that international school in Singapore did, is that Singapore Airlines staff is being trained, one, in English, second, in professionalism. So this is apa yang international school perlukan. Dia perlukan orang yang fasih berbahasa Inggeris dan dia perlukan orang yang very professional untuk mengajar students dia. In terms of ni lah, pewatakan diri, confidence levels, because international school punya syllabus bukan sahaja macam sekolah biasa, they also groom their students to become ready for private sectors. Okay, so dia perlukan cikgu untuk mengajar subjek-subjek macam tu. So apa dia buat, dia hire SIA staff, Singapore Airlines staff to be that teaching staff. Okay, so this is apa yang Singapore buat. So Singapore ada banyak plan sebab dia negara dia kecil kan, so dia ada banyak plan. So kalau kita baca dekat dalam Malaysia punya berita, selalunya kita jumpa orang yang retire daripada Malaysia Airlines whatever, jual nasi lemak kan. Businesses, jadi local entrepreneurs, jadi small businesses entrepreneurs. So dekat Singapore ada yang buat benda yang sama, jadi local business entrepreneurs. Saya share video dekat dalam e-campus. Ada yang balik buka business family kan. Ada yang balik reskill dia digital skill. So ini apa yang berlaku. Okay. So reskilling and know how to use your skill adalah benda yang penting sekarang. Right? So tourism trend yang akan increase dekat Malaysia adalah medical tourism and also wellness tourism. Sebab tu first week I talk about this. I think saya akan repeat benda ni every week. If you're interested in medical tourism and wellness tourism, go ahead. Sebab turis pertama yang probably will be allowed to enter Malaysia is medical tourist. Okay, kenapa? You tahu tak Malaysia popular apa untuk medical tourist, untuk medical tourism? Ada siapa tahu? Pernah dengar kan medical tourism, right? Tahu tak Malaysia apa? Kalau Korea tahu kan medical tourism dia pasal apa? Kan? Kalau Korea dikenali untuk plastic surgery kan? Okay. Ulfa, awal cepat jawab kan plastic surgery kan? Okay. Korea dikenali sebagai plastic surgery. Malaysia punya medical tourism you tahu? Kita punya number one apa? Malaysia, medical tourism Malaysia number one, kita punya ni, fertility clinics. Apa tu? Klinik kesuburan. Malaysia number one in the world. Antara top 10 lah, kita antara number one. Fertility clinics di Malaysia. In the world. Malaysia. So medical tourism probably akan pertama sekali balik. So kalau you pergi private hospitals in Klang Valley, you akan tengok fertility clinic punya lah besar. Kan? Bukanlah fertility clinic, dia panggil ni. Apa tu? Klinik sakit puan. Punya lah besar. Penang, dia ada 3 center. Penang, KL, Johor. 3 center. So masa saya duduk Penang pun sama. Penang memang dia akan iklankan. You boleh freeze kan you punya ovum. And bayar. You freeze kan your ovum ke sperm you ke. Contohnya you nak freeze. You bayar. Dia ada berapa, you kena bayar berapa ribu. Kalau you nak yang freeze berapa bulan. Yang ni kan. Bayar macam sewa. Peti besi. Lebih kurang macam tu. Sebab untuk fertility punya klinik. So Penang, Johor, KL. So medical tourism kebanyakan dia datang dekat Malaysia. Satu sebab kos Malaysia punya medical tourism antara yang terendah kan. Dan cepat proses kita. Tapi kita punya fertility clinics ataupun fertility tourism products adalah antara yang high success case. So kalau you interested, not only fertility clinic lah, but then saya bagi tahu produk nombor 1. Medical tourism ada banyak aspek. Not only that, kita ada rehabilitation, kita ada wellness, kita ada spa. So sebab tu apa yang spa industri tengah buat sekarang, dia make sure kan SOP dia bagus. Sebab dia tahu antara turis yang akan first kali balik masuk ke Malaysia adalah wellness tourist. So medical tourist and wellness tourist. So kalau you interested in wellness and interested in medical, so ataupun you nak pergi hospital ke, sebab hospital memang ada medical tourism punya unit, pergilah. Sebab tu saya kata dekat sini tadi, diversify tempat you fikir pasal tourism product, you kena fikir, diversify kan. So hospitals ada salah satu tempat yang you can go. Okay. And then third one, sekarang media. Information, dissemination of information adalah penting. So, bukan pasal international tourism to cover 2020. Ni, TIN Media, Travel Internet Industry Network. This is salah satu independent travel media di Malaysia. This is one. Sebab tu kenapa saya bagi assignment video reaction kan. Hari tu Ali kata kita jadi YouTuber lah lepas ni. Memang pun. Itu sebenarnya saya punya intention. Because content creation adalah salah satu skill ataupun salah satu income generation yang akan jadi kita kata can bring money to people without need to work with other people. Income generation. So you kena tahu macam mana nak create content sekarang ni. You kena tahu. So video reaction tu hanya saya bagi praktis lah dalam kelas kan. Kan saya kata saya buat assignment ikut trend. Ikut skill apa yang you perlukan. Itu saya punya style lah bagi assignment. So this year video reaction. So TIN Media salah satu. So if you interested to create content, cari company travel media. Contohnya TIN Media ni salah satu. Ada banyak lagi. Companies yang specialize in creating contents untuk tourism news. Cari company macam tu. Siapa yang minat writing or you minat presenting. Macam Munish ada ke minat presenting? Pergi company yang macam ni. Sebab you suka cakap kan? Pergi. Because this is the company. Saya tahu you bukan student journalism. Tapi you ada knowledge tourism. So you kena tahu bila you ada knowledge tourism, meaning you ada value kepada company tersebut. Okay, so you kena tahu macam mana nak buat content. Okay, so this is one of area that you can explore. Okay, so some of the key takeaways yang pasal hari ni punya kuliah, people will travel closer to home. Okay, so people will go for more local travel, local experience. Okay, so kita expect tourism industry akan lebih efficient, akan lebih banyak innovation yang keluar, sebab tu digital skill penting. Kena ada digital skills. Okay, and then siapa yang minat policy, whoever interested in crisis, responding in crisis, saya recommend you pergi specialize in crisis management ataupun study about crisis management, because crisis management akan jadi satu career path sekarang ni. So every organisation what will happen is that dia akan ada the normal personnel, pekerja yang biasa, and also dia akan ada satu position baru akan dibuka, which is orang yang respon kepada krisis saja. Pegawai SOP lah, lebih kurang kita panggil lah. Kita akan ada position baru which is pegawai SOP. So, kalau you minat on that, go. And saya encourage you to go. Okay, and then wellness and medical tourism, I already share with you why. Okay, so another economy benefits juga selain daripada wellness and medical, adventure tourism, rural tourism, eco-tourism. Okay, so this is 3 products yang memang akan memang already on demand. Adventure tourism, rural tourism, eco-tourism. So bila orang keluar daripada bandar, meaning orang akan start to travel to places yang lebih rough, orang jarang explore. That's why adventure tourism akan jadi products yang bagus. Maksudnya produk yang ada demand, rural tourism and eco-tourism, these three products. Okay, and then luxury versus low cost. So tadi kan saya tanya pasal ekonomi punya rule kan. So bila supply kurang, demand banyak, and harga akan naik, betul? And meaning luxury travel akan jadi trend, tapi juga low cost travel pun akan jadi trend. Travel dalam negara will be cheaper, it becomes low cost travel. However, international travel will become a luxury product again. Dia akan jadi luxury product. So akan ada dua. Okay. So what you can do to build yourself own economy, I advise you to reskill dengan digital skill. So this is some of the websites yang you boleh belajar. Ada banyak lagi. Siapa yang suka tengok YouTube tu, ada banyak lagi. Create content. Learn new skill. Kalau you suka programming, belajar programming. Kalau you suka drone kan. Saya tunjuk hari tu kan, drone kan. Sebab drone akan jadi part of safety punya elements. So go for that. So this is some of free websites how to reskill your knowledge. Okay, this is some of it. Okay, so I encourage you to go. And so that's everything for today. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Okay, so I hope I give you new perspective in terms of trends in economy aspects. Right? Thank you very much. Nanti saya upload. Don't worry about this. I will upload. Cuma saya brief sikit. Apa yang akan berlaku, akan ada final exam. I was told will be akan ada final exam. Tapi pada saya dengan Dr. Gas tak payah risau sangat pasal final exam tu. So final exam digital online ke? Online. Saya tak tahu macam mana UMK nak buat. Tapi itu yang apa yang dia cakap lah. Okay. So anything else you need me to share?
Miss?
Yeah.
About the individual assignment, can we choose any current issue?
In terms of economic?
Is it should happen within Malaysia or international also can?
Both can. Both can.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Miss.
Okay. Anyone else? Sekejap, Ulfa, sekejap saya buka. Kena login balik. Anyone else? Ada questions? Banyak apa tu ekonomi akan diversify lah. Saya rasa saya share a few video kan. Bali punya ada ke saya share itu video dengan Bali kan. So dia apa tu people in Bali losing their job. So apa yang happen they back to their own original economy which is seaweed farming. Tu apa yang dia buat lah sekarang. And so peningkatan terhadap peningkatan permintaan terhadap seaweed akan meningkat tahun ni dengan tahun depan. So kita kan tak makan sangat seaweed kan, tapi ada certain orang makan. So this is apa yang dia, so dia akan become a new export for Bali. Okay. Mana ni? Attendance sekejap dia. Tunggu. So orang lain kalau tak ada soalan, you can log out. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss.
Alright, welcome. Okay, thank you. Alright.
Thank you, Miss.
Alright, sama. Ke.
Tanya,
Ya, ya.
yang kita nak react tu, news tu, kalau kita react news yang apa bertulis bukan video pun tak apa kan?
Boleh je.
Okay, tapi kita memang kena buat video lah untuk react news tu. Okay, Miss.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alright, welcome.
Miss,
I
got a question. Since today we discussed about policy in tourism, actually in Malaysia, tourism organization, we have few levels, right? Like local, regional, and then national and international. So in Malaysia, is it same? Like we only use UNWTO? I mean, we refer to that.
Not necessarily. Some of it we adapt and we change according to us. And for example, macam travel bubble kan. Travel bubble it was proposed by UNWTO. It was proposed. But not every country can use travel bubble. Only the green zone countries. So how we identify green zone countries? We refer back to WHO. However, it depends also kalau kita Indonesia back to our KKM. Are we consider ourselves as green zone? Macam tu. So, not 100%, but UNWTO is like kita panggil a neutral party. So, dia bagi policy to kata the whole tourism industry ideally should be like this. However, the country can choose and pick whatever that they want.
I see.
Whichever fits into their condition lah. Because macam kita, negara kita like tourism is not the main one kan, economy. But then macam Boracay for example, the island. So they need to adopt that according to their own tourism.
Okay.
So lepas tu international, itu international level. So government level pun sama. For example, SOP, government already set SOP, but then the local, kan kita ada satu lagi level kan, which is kita panggil apa? Pihak tempatan, MPKB, for example, majlis perbandaran, kita ada majlis tempatan, we have majlis bandaraya. So all these local authorities also can make their own rule according to their city.
I see. So they want like Majlis Pembandaran also have their section regarding tourism lah.
Ada. One of the active one, Penang and Perak, one among the active one that have dialogue. Sebab dia punya tourism product dia banyak kan. Tourism Pahang. and Tourism Perak. They have a lot of dialogue on that. Sebab tu macam SOP kan. For example SOP, Pahang come out with their own tourism SOP. They have their own. So if you go to destination in Pahang, it will be different. If you go to destination, for example, if you go to Langkawi, it will be different. Two different things. Because Langkawi Kedah punya tourism. So Pahang, Majlis Tempatan Pahang set up.
How about supranational?
Sorry, what is that?
How about supranational? What is the different? I mean, like what organization example in Malaysia?
Supra?
Yeah, supranational organization.
What is Supra? Can you explain?
Is it like the mixture of local and international organization?
Okay, what is it? Supra. How do you spell that?
Supranational tourism.
Is it an independent body or a government body?
I think it's international and local.
SU?
SUPRA.
Oh, okay, sorry. SUPRA.
Yeah.
Supra Tourism Private Limited, is it? No.
If I Google, is talking about international and local organization, but I'm not sure in Malaysia, like which one we can refer.
SUPRA, is it? Is it?
Yeah.
All right. Supra Tourism, right?
Yeah.
My search come out Supra Tourism Private Limited. Is it the one? No.
Private limited. I'm not sure.
Not sure. Do you have the link? Can you give me the link through chat? I can check.
Wait, yeah. I found one.
Supranational. Okay. Supranational.
This is from Google. I found it's like this, like supranational refer to a multinational corporation.
It's a union. All right. Union it depends on apa tu. Usually it's a standalone punya organisation. Union because this is union. So when we're talking about union macam club kan? Club.
Okay.
So it's not governed by not governed by government. So they are their own body. They have their own body. Okay. So usually they orang dalam union usually made up from people from professionals, from businesses lah most of the time. Okay, contohnya orang daripada travel agent, a very big travel agent or small travel agents. Lepas tu local entrepreneurs for example. So they made up from these people, stakeholders dia. Okay, so bila di dalam union, apa yang dia buat because they receive the benefits directly or the impact directly. So usually they will propose the thing ataupun policy that will benefit them. So dekat Malaysia pun sebenarnya benda yang sama lah. So the sound dekat Malaysia, the voice is Pata salah satu Malaysia punya Pata.
Okay.
Pata one of the voice lah. It's not union lah, but then it's a travel association dia panggil kan. So it has similar role dengan supra national ni. So dekat Malaysia is a Pata stands for Pacific Asian, is it?
Yeah, I heard that before.
So Pata salah satu. So kalau you nak tengok boleh the Pacific Asia Travel Association.
Yeah.
So Encik Uzair ke nama dia punya Malaysia punya rap sekarang ni. So dia memang one of very active in terms of dia bila Tourism Malaysia nak buat policy, they will call him. Maksudnya they will call people from Patah to come to become representative for all these small businesses.
Okay.
So dia akan panggil Tourism Malaysia. Tourism Malaysia will call people from local tourism. Macam contoh tadi Pahang kan? And also they will call people from businesses. For example, dia takkan panggil semua, but then they will call representative. So usually kalau Malaysia Patah and then Mita, apa lagi kita ada several one. So kalau if you want to explore Malaysia Inbound Tourism Association kan. So ni memang antara ni lah the voice of tourism entrepreneurs lah. This is among.
Okay.
Okay, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Miss.
Alright, okay.
Miss.
Yes.
Saya nak tanya kalau nak submit tutur tu kan yang video reaction tu kan Miss suruh letak dalam satu file kan nanti tiga-tiga reaction. So tak boleh upload kat YouTube lah kan kalau upload dekat Google Drive boleh lah kan?
Kalau nak upload dekat YouTube, saya advise ni unlisted.
Maksudnya?
Bila kita nak upload video YouTube, tengok saya kan YouTuber sekarang. bila kita nak upload video dekat YouTube, dia ada 3 option. Public, private, unlisted. Okay, so public semua orang boleh view. Private, you je boleh tengok. Unlisted, siapa ada link je boleh tengok.
Okay.
So sebab ni kan assignment. Kalau you nak public pun pada saya tak ada issue. Tapi kalau you tak nak, saya advise unlisted. You pilih unlisted dia panggil.
Okay.
So nanti you share je lah link tu macam you share normal YouTube link.
Okay. Baik.
Faham tak?
Tapi kita yang dah upload dekat Google Drive pun boleh je kan?
Boleh.
Okay.
Saya macam ni, mana yang speed yang laju, awak organize je lah. Saya tak kisah. Sebab saya bagi option sebab speed student kan. Jadi ikut you mana yang laju.
Lepas tu kalau kat Google Drive tu sebab dia kan kita upload dekat guna email siswa kan. So orang yang guna email siswa je boleh
orang UMK. Betul. Kalau saya kena pakai email UMK je. Betul.
Maksudnya kalau kat situ, kalau kat setting saya dia tunjuk macam student, UMK student email macam tu lah kan.
Okay, so
kalau saya buat
masa share link kan kita boleh nak share link Google Drive, dia ada dekat situ, dia tulis restrict access. Awak boleh buka access tu untuk orang yang daripada UMK je ke orang yang public ke, dia boleh buka sama je. Dia ada several security access. So you pilih lah yang mana yang mudah. Macam saya selalu saya pilih anyone with the link can view. Saya selalu pilih yang tu.
Okay.
So kalau kata orang masuk daripada Gmail biasa pun boleh tengok as long as dia ada link.
Okay. Saya tengok nanti jadi saya korek-korek.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so saya sekarang jadi IT support ke? Kena masuk CV baru saya kan? IT support, skill baru. Okay. Alright.
Okay, thank you.
Boleh. Alright. Okay, siapa lagi? Ada soalan lagi? Adakah saya terlepas ni?
Miss.
Yeah.
Miss, in case kalau saya dah submit, so saya guna Google Drive. Lepas tu, contohlah kalau Miss tak boleh access saya punya link tu, nanti Miss inform balik dekat group ke tak?
Nanti saya PM.
Miss PM lah ya, sebab saya dah submit tapi saya guna Google Drive dah takut Miss yang tak boleh buka sebab tadi saya minta tolong kawan saya dia boleh
buka. Nanti saya check. Nanti saya check.
Sebab yang kawan saya boleh buka tapi kena guna email UMK. Email siswa.
Okay. Saya pun pakai email UMK je. Biasanya.
Okay. Thank you, Miss.
Alright, sama. Ada lagi soalan? Yang tak boleh scan, don't worry. Ada lagi, sekejap lagi saya email. Okay. Ada 2 orang je kan tadi kan? just leave your name. Siapa yang tak boleh scan, just leave your name. Kejap lagi saya type nama you dalam sistem. Okay?
Thank you, Miss.
Okay, sama. Oh, saya kena left Sekejap Sekejap. Sebelum saya left, saya kena copy dulu mesej diorang ni. Nanti tertinggal. Yeah, good day. Good day to you too. Okay, bye-bye. Alright. Okay, bye.